Let's take a look at the Pokédex of my Pokemon region based on India, Nepal, and parts of the surrounding area, the Devhar region. Hey everyone, Brandon here. Our last video was on the story as well as the Spear Eyes or gimmick forms of the Devhar region, which won't be featured in this video, so make sure to check that out if you missed it. Anyway, with that marking the end of this series for now, it is time for me to present the decks of the Devhar region. At least until we explore the DLC, which won't be for a long time. Looking at you, comment section. Anyway, I put tons of work into these Pokemon, so I hope you enjoy them. Make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below which Devhar Pokemon is your favorite. Without further ado, let's begin with Shishrub, the plant horn Pokemon. It roams from place to place, gleefully eating vegetation that enriches its horns so they can grow big and strong. Antelope, the branch horn Pokemon. The branches that make up its horns and the wrap around its neck are highly flexible and have incredible tensile strength. Thawthorn, the tree horn Pokemon. The leaves on its back are used in a special potion that is said to reduce anxiety for both people and Pokemon. Caflare, the fire calf Pokemon. It uses its fiery horns to try to mark trees, but usually ends up setting them on fire due to its lack of proficiency in using them. Ignox, the fire cattle Pokemon. It will dig up clumps of dirt and singe them with its horns as a way to navigate around unfamiliar areas. Gyox, the fire ox Pokemon. It is said to contain the life force of its ancestors, and if you peer deeply into its stunning eyes that you can see them. Splasp, the bubble snake Pokemon. The specialized bubble on its tail can be used to store water and venom, which it shoots out from the nozzle-like tip of its tail. Weaviper, the bubble serpent Pokemon. It can expand the bubbles along its neck to intimidate potential prey or predators. Vasunami, the bubble naga Pokemon. The venom held within the bubbles on its head is so potent that it can incapacitate even a Garbodor within seconds. Lunarva, the moon bug Pokemon. It rests high in the trees at night, attempting to imitate the moon. Gaboon, the moon cocoon Pokemon. Its reddish hue makes disguising as a moon more difficult, but also makes it less appetizing to predators. Rohinoth, the moon moth Pokemon. Its red visage strikes fear into nearby Pokemon. The red glow that it casts is very ominous. Baybill, the scruff Pokemon. Its scruffy appearance makes it subject to ridicule by other bird Pokemon. Shuckapok, the thunder feather Pokemon. It is just learning how to use its new typing, only able to deliver minor shocks to opponents. Homrain, the thunder wing Pokemon. The flapping of this Pokemon's wings sounds like rumbling thunder. Herat, the rat Pokemon. It likes to take shelter in temples, hiding in large groups. Stalagpine, the porcupine Pokemon. The rocky quills on its back make for great sharpening tools. Shino, the timid Pokemon. Its timid demeanor is due to the hunting of its species for their horns, as it is said to contain mystical properties. Sorolger, the armor Pokemon. It protects young Shino and even other Pokemon from poachers with all its might. Scrap-Up, the trickster Pokemon. A little trickster, it can convince Pokemon to battle each other for seemingly no reason. A Mongrel, the mischief Pokemon. It can be incredibly loyal to those who train one or incredibly mischievous to those who battle it. Bulbuty, the bulb Pokemon. Its leaves radiate a calming aura that makes one feel safe and protected. Padmaya, the magic bloom Pokemon. Seeing the bloom of this Pokemon's flower is said to bring you a lifetime of good fortune. Devarian Centret, the scout Pokemon. This Pokemon takes lookout shifts during the day to make sure their friends can sleep, as they are nocturnal. Devarian Furret, the long body Pokemon. Furret and Devar are even more elusive than their Jotonian counterparts, but can intimidate foes with a nasty snarl if necessary. Soret, the long-tail Pokemon. Masters of the air at night, this Pokemon is able to land and take off in seconds. They will glide over cityscapes, exclusively targeting and taking down Pokemon that bully others. Cupid, the love Pokemon. Its arrows are capable of making those hit by them fall in love. You can tell that someone has been hit by a distinctive paint splat on the recipient. Chromantic, the romantic Pokemon. Their arrows are said to be made of the pure light of love. Hanger, the swing Pokemon. It swings through the forests of Devar, and can summon clouds to swing through the sky. Wrestlanger, the battle Pokemon. Wrestling in Devar is said to have originated by mimicking the moves demonstrated by this Pokemon. Helmite, the colony Pokemon. Massive colonies filled with this Pokemon can be found across Devar. The sheer size of the hills they build for their home is awe-inspiring. Digrill, the drill Pokemon. This Pokemon will dig several escape routes underneath their colony for an easy escape, and will dig traps around it to help stall their predators so they can run. Emberm, the burn Pokemon. Emberm's population has had to be contained to the Palai Valley through human interjection. Otherwise, hordes could spread across Devar, burning it to the ground. Emberfly, the smoke Pokemon. The flames atop Emberfly's head are used as feelers, able to differentiate heat levels within living things and objects. Alma, the golden Pokemon. A large population of this Pokemon have amassed around the golden city of Sonin Deer. There is a tale that these fish are chunks of the city given life. Sahauma, the merfolk Pokemon. It wields the rings it carries with extreme dexterity, using them for both entertainment and battle. Sivolt, the jittery Pokemon. It can generate incredible amounts of energy from the berries it consumes. Bentatteri, the exhausted Pokemon. This Pokemon remains in a constant state of irritability. It gets a fraction of the energy that its previous stage got from eating the same berries. Garrock, the statue Pokemon. It remains still for hours at a time, waiting for Pokemon to pass by, then striking suddenly. Gargoyle, the guardian Pokemon. These Pokemon have been used for generations to guard active temples around Devar, but fell out of practice in recent years. They can still be found in caves with ancient ruins in them, guarding them out of instinct. Masspine, the spiky Pokemon. It will bask the metal spikes on its back in the sun. The heat absorbed from just an hour of basking can last them for days. Mastix, the mace Pokemon. Its large spiky tail is used to warn groups of Masspine of oncoming danger by smacking it against the sand. Balome, the dig bear Pokemon. This Pokemon nuzzles its nose in the dirt trying to find good places to dig. It can suck up small bits of food into its mouth by closing its nostrils. Terrabear, the big dig Pokemon. The mighty claws it possesses are used to shred through the enormous hills built by its prey, Hellmites. Tadpole, the Firetail Pokemon. Unlike other Pokemon that share its features, it refuses to be near lakes and rivers, instead preferring to swim in the searing sands of the Valana Desert. Baycroak, the Sun Frog Pokemon. The light that seems to emanate from its throat is often used as a campfire by trainers traveling with this Pokemon. Deerling in Sawsbuck Monsoon form, the Season Pokemon. These rare forms seem to be only found in Devar and a few surrounding regions. Devarian Halucha, the Wrestling Pokemon. Like its Colossian counterpart, this Pokemon likes to live quietly alongside other members of its species. It will spread out its brightly colored wings to alarm potential opponents that it isn't looking for a fight. Haruda, the Calm Pokemon. This Pokemon flies over the plains of Devar, hunting down any serpentine Pokemon which are its natural enemy. Devarian Shroomish, the Inky Mushroom Pokemon. The ink that seeps from this Pokemon was used to write in antiquity. The practice has since been outlawed as the population of Devar grew, to avoid exploitation of this Shroomish. Devarian Breloom, the Inky Mushroom Pokemon. Breloom can deliver hearty headbutts, leaving behind its thick poisonous ink on the recipient. Devarian Zangoose, the Cat Ferret Pokemon. Without the presence of Seviper in Devar, this Pokemon sought other rivals. This led to the near extinction of the local population of this species, until this form began appearing in its place. Devarian Comfey, the Flag Finder Pokemon. It channels psychic powers from the flags on its vine. The flags seem to be human-made, but researchers have also posited that this form of Comfey generates them itself. Devarian Machop, the Super Speed Pokemon. The crest on Machop's head make it more aerodynamic, giving it a slight edge while running. Devarian Machoke, the Super Speed Pokemon. This Pokemon has enhanced reflexes compared to those found in Kanto, but its muscle mass is also much less. Devarian Machamp, the Super Speed Pokemon. Groups of Machamp will interlock their forearms, creating a fast yet impenetrable wall of defense. Devarian Timber, the Batter Pokemon. It is usually found practicing swinging its bat. When it can swing with ease, it is about to evolve. Devarian Girder, the Batter Pokemon. Using its incredible musculature, it can swing its bat with both power and accuracy. Devarian Conkeldurr, the Batter Pokemon. This Pokemon uses its hardened fist to carve its two bats for itself, and are known to use them to smack stones up in the air at unsuspecting Pokemon. Devarian Skiddo, the Mountain Pokemon. These Skiddo are highly adapted for the harsh, cold weather and steep mountains of the Barpiswar mountain range. Devarian Gogoat, the Mountain Pokemon. This Pokemon proudly roams all over its mountainous home without fear of falling, as it is very adept at climbing on even the steepest mountain faces. Devarian Clough, the Ambush Pokemon. This Pokemon masks itself amongst the foliage of the trees, easily able to land on top of prey passing by. Clarber, the Mangrove Pokemon. This Pokemon will hide itself deep in the mud, appearing as a normal tree until something comes by, which it will then dredge itself out to attack. Devarian Wimpod, the Wimpy Pokemon. This Wimpod much prefers spending time in libraries, hiding in holes it has made amongst the bookshelves. Thissapod, the hardcover Pokemon. There are rumors of Thissapod that are able to understand human language, though there are no recorded instances. Yet. Dokiboko, the Restless Pokemon. It is in a constant state of anxiousness, which only elevates as this Pokemon stores more and more electricity. It can only be calmed if it releases this nervous energy into the ground using its plug-like tail. Bokosama, the Restful Pokemon. It absorbs electricity as a means of food, filling it to the point where it gets very tired and goes into a food coma. Pangolin, the Pangolin Pokemon. The phantasmic scales of this Pokemon appeared after poachers removed its original physical ones. Pangool, the Ghoulish Pokemon. Its scales have hardened into an armor-like coating, giving this Pokemon the defensive ability it once had. Pangrudge, the Revenge Pokemon. It seeks revenge on those who removed its scales as a Panghost. There is no limit to how far this Pokemon will travel to find them. Craball, the Ball Pokemon. This Pokemon is a bit skittish, likely to run away if challenged to a battle, which is why it disguises itself as a Pokeball. Rekapod, the Big Ball Pokemon. This Pokemon is more than ready to take on a fight, though with their size, they were never really looking to hide either. Sinsense, the incense Pokemon. It appears as a normal incense to unsuspecting people. Only those who try to pick it up will realize the curse they have brought upon themselves. Gensense, the Ifrit Pokemon. These Pokemon are beings of fiery malice, executing their revenge upon anyone who dares touch their incense burner body. Enlightomb, the Enlightened Pokemon. The 108 spirits within Spiritomb have all found peace, leading to this Pokemon being much less mischievous. Dramparade, the Float Pokemon. It lets kids and parents alike ride on its back around villages, making them feel special and imbuing them with protection against Ghost-type Pokemon. Tortank, the Ballistic Turtle Pokemon. Its snout is used to fire off a cavalcade of devastating incendiary blasts, while its explosive shell guards it from oncoming attacks. Arakakara, the Tactic Pokemon. The tactics implemented by this Pokemon often leave opponents confused, which it will take advantage of to attack. Barboonch, the Devilfish Pokemon. This Pokemon will aggressively attack any that enter its territory. Many attacks are reported each year. There is even a rumor of a Barboonch eating a person whole. Metatama, the Liberation Pokemon. These Pokemon stay in a constant state of meditation. Even fainting does not break its concentration. Many monks throughout Devar aspire to be able to reach the level of focus a Metatama has. Macella, the Merchant Pokemon. It receives great joy from sharing their spices with Pokemon and trainers alike, but only through battle can they be attained. Iridish, the Gourmand Pokemon. Festivals are held in Vizsla to honor this Pokemon in its variety of forms. Different dishes based on these forms are shared between the townspeople and this Pokemon, changing the form of the Pokemon and saying to change the form of the people alongside them. Flamera, the Amalgam Pokemon. These Pokemon are very adaptable creatures due to their variety of physical features. They can thrive in almost all environments except cold ones. Boometh, the Rumbling Pokemon. Small but mighty, this Pokemon's resounding footsteps are known to shake the earth beneath them, causing rock slides and cave-ins. They become especially irritable if any Magmoa are nearby and will try to shock them. Stormith, the Crashing Pokemon. The mighty stomp of this Pokemon has been known to summon thunder. Magmoa, the Dry Pokemon. Its body is so hot that it dries out anything nearby, and will actively try to dry out the wool of Boometh that are nearby. Vrython, the Drought Pokemon. The heat this Pokemon produces is enough to dry up any nearby bodies of water. Prismonal, the Aurora Pokemon. This Pokemon glimmers brightly as it flies across the Barpiswar Mountains. It has often caused inaccurate reports of Articuno sightings in Devar, usually by those visiting from Kanto. Jicanium, the Anodized Pokemon. This Pokemon's plumage shines in the sunlight as it traverses southern Devar. The mix of gold and prismatic colors has tricked those visiting from Johto into thinking they spotted Ho-Oh. Yatot, the Yeti Pokemon. People in the village of Himendapu often have this Pokemon as their starter because its demeanor is so welcoming and easygoing, making it a great first companion. Shamanable, the Light Yeti Pokemon. This Pokemon is a healer. It is revered in villages across the Barpiswar Mountains, and are believed to be the originators of holistic medicine across Devar. Abomasge, the Dark Yeti Pokemon. This Pokemon uses odd and destructive moves. Though a bit sinister, it is still respected for its magical prowess. Albinux, the Chilling Pokemon. Though it looks plant-like, Albinux's body is composed of mostly ice, disguising a lethal poison within. Xenux, the Fatale Pokemon. It will lure prey with the alluring smell their petals can give off, freezing and poisoning the prey when it comes close. Rookler, the Round Shield Pokemon. Shields comprise this Pokemon's entire body. If battling damages the shields, it will temper itself using the help of Fire-type Pokemon that repairs the damage and improves its defenses. Nightarge, the Blunt Shield Pokemon. Nightarge create battalions of Rookler, making formations that can give them even more of an edge defensively. Quindosh, the Multi-Shield Pokemon. The defensiveness of this Pokemon is unmatched. It has been used by the royalty or people of status in Devar for generations. Waxstock, the Piglet Pokemon. Waxstock will eat close to anything you put in front of it, but it will use its bristly tail to clean its food first. Wok-Wok, the Doublet Pokemon. This Pokemon's heads stay in sync with each other. Though the two are separated, they are attached to one brain. Wokpok, the Triplet Pokemon. It is constantly eating with those three mouths lined with razor-sharp tusks. Some posit it has 3 stomachs to match. Harasha, the Beginning Pokemon. The ultimate force of beginnings, Harasha's flowing waters can flood into the start of a new universe. Masugon, the Ending Pokemon. The ultimate force of endings, Masugon's fiery wings could ignite the end of this universe. Lysurga, the Preserver Pokemon. The preserver of balance in the universe. Lysurga's mighty roar can quell even the fiercest Pokemon into obedience. And that is the Dex of the Devar region. Shout out to our incredible members whose names you can see on screen for supporting this channel with their hard-earned money, which you can also do by hitting that join button. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.